everyone, and welcome back to the Star Wars Stuff Podcast. My name is David,
Craig 5 standing by.
and this is where we talk all things Star Wars. And before we get started, we definitely do want to recognize our top tier supporters on Patreon, starting off with Hayden Hauser, Darth Ace One, Liam McCallan, Chris Simpson, Kevin Leininger, Devin McCaffrey, Drew Peters, Zach Netzel, Maya Morris, Maka Tautala, Adam Haber, Brad Mackey, Front Row King, and Darth Beard, of course. Thank you all so much for your awesome love and support out there. We couldn't do a lot of the stuff we do without you guys, so thank you so much.
And we don't want to resort to some of the things David might have to do without your support. I don't want to go there. It's a
Yeah, they don't need
PG
to hear about
13.
that, Craig. So, moving
There were
on.
some
Yeah.
dark days in David's past, is all I'll say. And I'm not talking about Last Jedi.
All right, so there is a big rumor out there that Bob Iger is stating that he wants to move to one Star Wars TV show per year.
They still don't get it. They still don't get it. If that's the best conclusion that they can come to, then they're not recognizing the problem. It's not that there's too much Star Wars. It's that people aren't happy with the Star Wars that's coming out. It has nothing to do with too much in getting a show twice a year. You know what I mean? That's just ridiculous. We get 8 episodes of a show, maybe like twice a year, sometimes 3 times a year if we get like, some animated show. And they think the problem is too much. This is not too much. It's that people aren't happy with it for the most part. I mean, there are some people that are happy with some stuff, but it doesn't have to do with too much, in my opinion. If it's fantastic, people are going to want more of it. So it's pretty frustrating to hear. Now, I vehemently defended the Acolyte, probably more than most people did.
Yeah.
But people, I don't understand what people are wanting from Star Wars. Honestly, I mean, I like Mandalorian. I think is a fantastic show. I think the episodes tend to be a little bit too short, but I like the show for the most part, especially seasons 1 and 2. I really loved. Andor started off a little bit slow, in my opinion, but finished off incredible. Book of Boba Fett, the writing was a mess. It was just a little wacky. The get along gang on the scooters, they were a bit off putting. But the problem wasn't Tamura Morrison as Boba Fett or his acting. It was just that the writing wasn't sharp. You look at shows like House of Dragon or Game of Thrones or some of these shows that have really, really strong writing, and people can't get enough of it.
Mm-hmm.
So I think it's more the writing than anything.
I definitely agree. I don't think you can have too many Star Wars shows per year. I agree with you. The quality has to be there. The strong writing has to be there. And you're saying they don't get it. I think the thing that, from my perspective, that they kind of don't get is the fact that it's. I lost my train of thought. The thing that Lucasfilm doesn't get is the fact that there's so much stuff out there that the fans are hoping for. That if you simply just go online, you can see the stuff that they're wanting. And it's almost like they have this attitude, it feels like, that no, we're going to do our own thing. We don't care what the fans are saying. In the very beginning, Kathleen Kennedy made the statement, we're doing this for the fans. And I was like, thank you, God. Someone that gets it. Someone that's going to give us what we want. We're going to get the Old Republic. We're going to get Rogue Squadron. We're going to get live action Grand Admiral Thrawn. We're going to get a Boba Fett movie. We're going to get maybe a trilogy. We're going to continue on with episode 10 and so on. We're going to see Luke in all his glory as a Jedi Master. And they've kind of skewed from that path.
Yeah.
I'm not sure what it is. It's almost like a quality of, like, we know what you want, rather than let's hear what you want and let's give it to you. It's weird. Like with the whole thing with Galaxy's Edge, to me, they
Oh,
based it between The Last Jedi and Rise of Skywalker, and that's the time period that's in. And they wanted to uphold canon. They didn't want to break canon in any way, shape, or form. Going to Galaxy's Edge, it's a lot of fun, but it could be a lot greater than it is. And
yeah,
it's just a weird. They kind of like wrote themselves into a corner almost, where they can't really expand, and now they are expanding after so many years where people were saying, well, we need
yeah.
more of the new stuff, and of course Baby Yoda's there with the Mandalorian and Ahsoka, but that's breaking their canon. It's breaking the rules in a way. And in the very beginning, they stated that they're going to do comics, books, TV, movies that are all going to fall in the same streamlined canonical timeline, which is a very hard thing to do. Kind of organizing all those people, all those creators, all those writers, to do that. And in the beginning, I was very much like, we got to stay within canon, stay within canon. But now when you look across all the other like big franchises out there, they're kind of breaking away from canon. They're doing like Elseworld stuff. DC's about to go heavy into that. They're gonna have their mainline canon, and then they're gonna have like the Joker, Joaquin Phoenix's Joker, and the sequel. It's Elseworld. It's not pertaining to
Yes.
any particular streamlined story timeline that they're doing. So I think Star Wars needs to really do that, and the big title for that is The Force Unleashed. And Sam Witwer's still young enough where he can still play Vader's apprentice. You get Vader in there, a marquee character, and you just tell people, hey, look, this isn't in the mainline canon. This is like an Elseworld type story. I mean, that right there. I know Bob Iger's looking to make a lot of money at the box office. It looks like that's what they're concentrating on at the theater. We need to do movies. We need to sell tickets, which is the way to go, really. I mean, Disney Plus is nice, but it seems like it's hit the peak amount of subscribers, and
Well, until they do something different, they're really making everybody angry. Honestly, it's getting kind of exhausting as a Star Wars fan because I just want to enjoy Star Wars, and it's like, I mean, now there's everybody's fighting. YouTubers are even fighting at this point. Okay, it's crazy. Everybody's fighting, except for the Sith Master and his apprentice, apparently.
oh my gosh, so many fans have turned into Sith. Yeah, I agree with that.
Everybody's just so angry and frustrated, and you know, to me, look, Galaxy's Edge is so disappointing for so many reasons, and I have an annual pass. I take my kids there, like,
We were
you
there
know,
together one day.
we did. We have a video of it where we talked. I don't know. We talked about something. We filmed it though. We'll have to take a look. Colin was there too.
Yeah,
Um, but it had to do with like we had been on the what was the ride there?
Star
The
Tours like
Star Tours,
7 times or something.
and we got like Boba Fett and Darth Vader. We were all excited about the characters we got. But look, you go to Galaxy's Edge, and there's like no characters walking around. There's no. Why not just have some drones or droids flying around, or making it look like it's alive? And there's only two rides there, and it's First Order, and I mean the appeal for that is so low. Make it Remnant Stormtroopers. Put it in the Mandalorian timeline. I know they're doing that with the Millennium Falcon ride, which
Yes,
is great, but they gotta. I think they have to switch up First Order and put it in the Mandalorian timeline to get people excited, because now it feels like original trilogy, at least somewhat, and that's really what has the biggest fan base, the original trilogy, and that's I highly doubt that will ever change.
I agree. I agree. Now, with if this rumor is true that Bob Iger wants to slow down to one Star Wars TV show per year, they're gonna have all their eggs in one basket
That's
now. So that
exactly.
show has to be terrific. It's gonna have
Yep.
to carry Star Wars technically on Disney Plus.
It's
And if
it's a
it's
mistake.
not, if it has the same reception as Acolyte, Craig and I mean, we didn't mind the Acolyte. It had some
I
low
liked
points,
it,
it had some mid points, it had some high points, but the fandom just really didn't take to it the way I thought they
which
were
is fine.
because
Yeah, I mean, I'm not going to tell people what they should or shouldn't like, unlike how other people may go about it. You don't like it, you don't like it. I get it. There were things about it I didn't like either. There were things that I did like about it. To me, if we were getting a season two focused on the Stranger and Darth Plagueis, I would have been thrilled.
And see, they can pursue that. They're just probably not going to call it the Acolyte. I mean, they're going to have to address Plagueis in the future at some point. On YouTube, aggressively relaxing says Galaxy's Edge makes a lot of sense for the future because we're heading towards all these stories around the galaxy, helping Thrawn's galaxy.
Well, look, I think transitioning into the Empire or the new Empire, whatever they're going to do, that's going to get a lot more people excited than. I mean, think about it. How many people are upset about episode 7, 8, and 9? And so when you go there, it's only focused on 7, 8 now. Now they've got Mando and Grogu walking around, but they really need to get it about something people can look forward to. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, hindsight, like Monday morning quarterback type stuff. I mean, it's easy to say now that yeah, they should have gone all original trilogy. Um, but I mean, at that point when they created Galaxy's Edge, they just didn't know. I mean, The Force Awakens made $2 billion at the box office, so maybe they were looking at that and like, hey, look, we have a winner here.
Okay, let's pause it though.
Yeah,
Yes, it made $2 billion at the box office because people wanted to see Han, Luke, and Leia, and Chewbacca, and the droids.
yeah,
That's why people paid $2 billion because we hadn't seen Luke Skywalker and these characters in 30 years.
right.
Hadn't, you know, and it's Star Wars, so that's going to automatically make you a billion.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. I agree with that. I totally agree with that. I mean, just the name alone is going to get people in seats, especially during Christmas time, which I was vehemently opposed to having the drop on Christmas instead of traditional May. But I fell in love with that release date in Christmas time. I mean, you have the families. It basically hijacks Christmas for me because that's all I think about if they drop a Star Wars film during
Yeah.
Christmas, and then all the toys and all the merch and all the hype and hoopla around it. It's fantastic. I love it. But I mean, it was a miscalculation. And
Well, Disney has got to see. They've got to stop ignoring the fans that are really driving Star Wars are the ones that support the original trilogy. They've got to embrace it. Instead, it feels like they just keep rejecting it. You're rejecting your fan base. Embrace the people that love the originals. Don't try. We're the ones that are bringing the kids to the parks and buying the kids all the merchandise. You know what I
yeah,
mean?
yeah. But I mean, it's almost like yeah, we're wondering about what their strategy really was in the beginning. But I mean,
Well, it
as
was
these kids,
forget the past. Let the past die. Let's kill.
yeah.
We're gonna kill Luke Skywalker. Like in a way that was just. I don't want to go there, but
No, Luke Skywalker has to live. He's been living in our minds for decades.
we.
And
You know that film would have made $10 billion if we saw Luke Skywalker and Rey fight Kylo Ren and Snoke. People would have went crazy to see that. That's what we were all excited about. Those
so
two fighting. Now imagine that instead of fighting a bunch of guards. Like how? What? It's like you beat the main boss, but the big battle is with a bunch of guards that you should take out easily. That makes no
yeah,
sense to me.
yeah. I think their aim was to go intellectual, like super intellectual with Star Wars, and um, a lot of people wanted wanted more action. We talk about it all the time, but if there is a person that comes in after Kathleen Kennedy swoops in, and to us on the outside, I know having that job is super pressurized. It's hard, but if someone does swoop in and gives the fans what they want, they're gonna be held as like a god.
Listen, I don't really talk negatively about Kathleen Kennedy, but I do disagree with a number of choices that she's making or made. And I think at this point, she really has to start embracing the fans and making the old school fans feel welcome and not like you're making all your choices based on quota for diversification. You know what I mean? Like, Make it.
Yeah,
Nobody
there.
care. Nobody cares. I don't care if the female characters, the lead females or lead characters are females. Do you? Like, I don't care. I love Ahsoka. I love Padme and Princess Leia. It's not about that. It's just that people feel like they're trying to force things on us instead of just writing something that feels authentic.
Right, right, right. On YouTube, aggressively relaxing also says people never like the moodiness of Sith stories. Like the book sales numbers. Well, I don't think the book sales numbers have anything to do with anything as far as like the main income that Star Wars gets, which is theater income. I think the book sales almost hardly even matter. I mean, the stories are terrific. I think the stories really add a layer to Star Wars, add a lot to the lore, but I don't think the book sales are gonna ever make or break Star Wars. Star Wars is a cinema thing. It's a live action thing. It's an animation thing that's growing more and more. We're gonna get probably more and more animation as the years go on. But there is just so much that's just sitting there. There's like a gold mine they're sitting on that they can address and right the ship, so to speak, in a way. Um,
Mm-hmm.
and like Craig was saying, I'll reiterate. I love Ray. I love that Daisy Ridley's coming back. I love Finn. I like those characters. I like Poe, even though Oscar Isaac says he's not going to return unless they give him a lot of money. I like Chewie. I mean, I like the direction they're going, but they just got to give us something that I mean, it's kind of I mean, just for me as just a podcaster, just saying these things. I mean, it's easy to say it. It's a million times harder to actually execute it and deliver it on screen. But I mean, it feels like it's been done before in the past. I mean, you look at the original trilogy. I mean, to duplicate what the original trilogy was and did. I mean, as a creative, doing that again. I mean, what other trilogies exist out there that even kind of compare to Star Wars that have been made in the last 20 years?
I
The only
mean,
one I can think of is maybe
Lord of the
one.
Rings.
Yeah, the Lord of the Rings. I mean, that's to me that's the only trilogy that kind of stands alongside Star Wars. You maybe think the Back to the Future trilogy.
Yeah,
I mean, that
yeah,
was pretty good.
I
That
can
was done
see
by
that.
Robert Zemeckis. Um, but I mean, there's a lot of creators out there, and it feels like Kathleen Kennedy is very precious with and curates to the extreme what she has done in the franchise with Acolyte. That story, she said, moved her. That's why she approved Leslie Headland to do the Acolyte. By all accounts, I mean, I never saw Russian Doll, but it was critically acclaimed. That's why she got the job. She had the best pitch. But when they did the investor call, though, it seemed like we are going to get a totally different story. We're going to get a TV show through the eyes of the Sith, and we really didn't get that.
No,
It
I
was
don't
more of
think.
a High Republic type show.
Yeah, yeah, I agree with that. Um, I don't
So
know.
aggressively relaxing on YouTube says, speaking as a fan, I'm getting what I want, multiple stories throughout all eras using all sorts of genres of storytelling.
I agree with that. I don't think we need to continue focusing on the future. Star Wars needs to feel like a galaxy. People love the fairy tale component of it, which was really up, especially in that original trilogy. It felt very fairy tale-ish. You think of Empire Strikes Back, in particular, or you think of A New Hope, and it really feels like you're living in this other galaxy.
Yeah.
And so I don't think the a good idea is to cut down to one show. You're
The
trying to tell
better
Disney,
idea is to find the best talent.
create two great shows a year, right? Two great shows a year. And you know, maybe if they give the fans a little bit more of what they want, they won't be as so angry and so hostile, with everything like the Acolyte. Maybe they'll say, okay, well, this is a little bit different, but I got a show that I really loved, you know, last time. So I don't know. I don't even know what the fans want at this point. Because it's like I know everybody wanted Luke Skywalker and Han, and but now we can't do that. I mean, I, I don't think we're going to do anything with Leia, but I've heard rumors that Luke will be in the Mandalorian movie. Have you heard that?
It's been a while, but the Mandalorian Grogu movie, I'm almost 100% sure, is not the climactic event movie that we were promised back in 2018 with, or 2019 at that investor call with, or was it even announced then, or was it announced later? Yeah, it was announced in 2019, that
Was that
investor
long ago?
call. Yeah, that Dave Filoni was going to, or there was going to be a big kind of compilation, kind of almost like an Avengers style film where it brought in every character from the Mandoverse, from the Favloni verse, as we like to call it,
Yeah.
in. And yeah, then we thought, okay, well, they did Luke at the end of season 2 of Mando. You could bring back that same actor, but they chose a different actor for Book of Boba Fett when he appeared,
They
and
did?
yeah, it was a totally different actor. Um, but they had better face modeling, so it actually looked a little bit more real.
Oh, I mean, I thought
Um,
it looked fantastic.
yeah, yeah, in Book of Boba Fett, it did look fantastic. There are people that criticized with like movement, like fast action movement. You can totally tell that it was like a face a face pull and drop. But
Well, I'm sure the technology's, gotten. I mean, Book of Boba Fett came out how many years ago? Two?
yeah, yeah. I mean, yeah, the technology is just gonna get better, of course. But yeah, the hope was okay. Well, they're gonna have to battle Thrawn. They're gonna need all the help they can get. They're gonna go up against the Dathomir witches, all the undead stormtroopers that we know about now from Ahsoka season 1. Um, you could bring in Luke Skywalker again and have him on the big screen. Can you imagine that? Luke Skywalker fighting young
Man,
Luke
I've been waiting.
Skywalker.
I've been waiting since 1981 for that Luke Skywalker. I've only got a little bit of them in, those two episodes, and they were my favorites.
Yeah,
I mean, Luke is my favorite character, so I know some people don't think they should bring him back.
right.
But as a Star Wars fan, nothing would make me happier than a Luke show or a Luke in the Mando movie.
Yeah. And of course, what we're saying here, I mean, we're just talking as podcasters. We're not filmmakers. We don't create TV shows or anything. But I think
Speak
there's a
for yourself.
fine. Yeah, I don't want to know what you do in your basement, Craig.
What?
But towing the line here, I mean, there is a fine line between too much, like dropping into that crazy, like fan service type of realm, and actually having a great story that's logical and is a good film slash TV show. So I mean, yeah, you have to have someone with experience, and you have to have, and I think that's what they kind of look for. But the other part of it is, it seems like Lucasfilm will hire like the hot guy at the moment, or the hot person, like they did with Taika. Taika had a hot streak with Thor Ragnarok, with Jojo Rabbit winning his Academy Award, and then they're doing it kind of now with Sean Levy, who just directed Deadpool Wolverine and has done Stranger Things work, and he's the next guy up. And are we going to get that? And going back to the 2019 Investor Day call, a lot of that stuff is not going to happen that they announced. We later found out that they were just told, hey, just talk about anything for the
Really?
Investor Day
I
call.
did not hear that.
Essentially, yeah. Yeah, essentially, yeah. They just kind of said, tell us what you think might happen. And that's what we kind of got. And that was for the investors to deeply invest, I guess. But
Look, they have a huge product right now, and that is Disney Plus. And if you want to sell Disney Plus subscribers, you better put out content that is fantastic for Star Wars and Marvel. And if you do those two things, you're going to get a lot more subscribers. And as a Disney stock investor, I implore them to do it because the stock keeps going like that.
yikes.
Yeah, I mean, really, it has. I mean, it was, it's down like, I don't know if it's down a third or 25% over the last few years. And you look at Netflix stock; it's almost $700 a share. Why is that? What? Why can't Disney be that? Well, I think because people are so frustrated with Disney and them forcing an agenda as opposed to giving people what they want. If if you have a business, you're supposed to give people what they want. You know,
Right, right. If you have customers, you got to give the customers what they want. You got to get,
and they're not giving the Star Wars
yeah.
customers what they want. And look, I'm not saying like I liked Book of Boba Fett for the most part and all these other shows, but yeah, there was a lot of stuff to it that I'm like, what are they doing with that?
And I kind of wonder about Book of Boba Fett because Favreau was heading it up. I mean, was it like another Iron Man situation? Because on Iron Man, they didn't even really have a script. They just like improv most of it. So
I could see that.
what happened with the story? Was it that kind of situation? Because it got kind of weird there. It
I
really
mean,
wasn't to the quality.
again, it felt like they were trying to force things. Like Robert Rodriguez knew that it was going to be controversial to put that biker gang in there. He knew it. He knew it. He tweeted about it,
Yeah.
and then about the colors of the bikes and stuff like that. Right? Do you remember when that happened?
Yeah, yeah, totally. Yeah.
Yeah. So
The bike's
that's
moving like 2 miles per
oh,
hour.
they look like the scooters in the Seinfeld episode where George is being chased on the rascal. I'm like, what are they doing here? Like, it looked awful,
Yeah.
right? I don't know if they just didn't have the budget for it, but I'd rather not see that than something that just didn't look right. But it was like they knew they were going to do something controversial, and after everybody was so upset over Last Jedi, the last thing we needed was more controversy.
Yeah.
We need more moments of Darth Vader's in hallways and Luke Skywalker's in
But
hallways.
see, I think the issue is they didn't see it as that much controversy because they saw all the money it made. It made over $1 billion again. So,
But again,
and it's tricky,
Star Wars making $1 billion is not a big deal.
right? It's par for the course.
Like how I could make a Star Wars movie with Colin in his Chewbacca costume, and we grows $500 million right there.
Right, right.
We'll do a remake
You
of
know,
Harry and the Hendersons, but with
I'm glad you brought
Colin
that
as
up. I'm glad you
Chewbacca.
brought that up because that might be a way for Star Wars to get back in its groove. Don't make these $250 million movies. Go make like $80 million movies like Alien Romulus. I mean, make smaller stories and put that out in theaters and see what that does. And I mean, you can make a ton of those. You can make more of those, make more money. It'll still have Star Wars in its name, but just advertise it as what it is, a smaller kind of story that happens. Like there's so many great fan films out there for Star Wars, and I've said it on this podcast before, but this decade we're gonna get a film made by fans that's gonna rival anything that Lucasfilm does, and it's gonna happen pretty soon. And those people are probably gonna get hired by Lucasfilm. They're probably gonna get jobs when that happens, and if they get assimilated into the system, into the machine, I don't know, but it's coming soon, and that thing's gonna make a lot of money, and or it's gonna get a lot of views because it can't make a lot of money technically because it'd be copyrighted material. But that moment is coming. It is coming very, very soon. I've seen some fan films out there that have tried to be the quality that Lucasfilm has, and it's not there yet. But I think this decade, at the end of this decade, we're gonna get something that's gonna rival. But the Blumhouse strategy might be something Star Wars might want to look into, something smaller that's really kind of what the fans have been asking for, and themes and characters and times. I mean, you don't really have to stray. The time where we exhaust everything that's out there that we know that we love that they haven't made yet will come, but I mean, they're like I said, they're sitting on a gold mine with the Old Republic, the Force Unleashed, the Luke stuff we're talking about. I mean, it's all kind of just there, sitting there where they can make it. And I think Mandalorian and Grogu, that film, I think that totally addresses what we're talking about right here because I think they actually waited a little bit too long for that. I mean, it's how many years is it going to be in between movies now? That movie's going to come out in 2026, so 7 years in between
Yeah.
Star Wars movies. I mean, that's kind of unacceptable, don't you think? I mean,
That's a long time. It's a
yeah,
really long time. So they should be able to put out a new Star Wars movie at least every 4 years. That
I,
seems reasonable. That gives you a couple years to develop a story, to film it, to do all that stuff. But you know what I mean? Like they don't have to all be a sequel movie, right?
hmm
So
hmm
if you do one movie and then you start focusing on that one, then you have another one in development. Then by the time this one is out, this one is getting closer to ready, and you just keep putting it out there. You know,
I wonder if doing one TV show per year is going to affect the budget of the filmmaking division at all, if any. I'm not quite sure,
I
but
don't know, but to me, I think what the bigger picture is, we have a huge product in Disney Plus, and the subscribers are low because people aren't happy with the major shows we're putting out there, right? Like, yes, Disney has a huge, great library, especially if you're a parent. You know, there's all those shows, but not for nothing, my kids don't watch Disney. I have a 11-year-old and a 7-year-old or 6.5-year-old, and they watch YouTube all day every day.
yeah, that is definitely a factor. There's other forms of entertainment out there: video games, YouTube. I mean, TikTok. I mean, I could watch if I get it on roll. I mean, I can watch TikTok for hours. I mean, because all the stuff that I like, there's an
And
algorithm.
that's just when you're in the bathroom alone.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, it's wild the stuff that I mean. We kind of think back. I mean, we're older guys that think back to the heyday of Star Wars, and that was like the big thing, and it was just so dominant in home video and popping back into the theater. It was an impressive thing to see, and all the hype and all just the enjoyment everyone had. But there's so much other stuff that it competes with now. It's a difference of culture. Aggressively relaxing on YouTube says, I'm saying decades of book sales can give you an idea of the types of Star Wars stories that sell best. Yes, I totally agree with that. And Star Wars Disney has new books that they can turn into live action stuff. But for some reason they're totally against that. They don't want to do that for whatever reason. I'm not quite sure why, but there are a few books out there. Um, the James Luceno Darth Plagueis novel, which is before Disney, um, terrific book. If that's made into a live action series and adapted, it would do fantastic. It would be crazy good. Along the lines of like an Andor. I mean, I think the name recognition alone would get it viewership, and if it was like dark and gritty and did it justice, I think they could succeed there. But yeah, there's all kinds of novels out there, and there's a lot of non-canonized stuff out there that they could still make and just say, "Hey, look, guys, this is not canon," or just not even say anything, and people will figure it out. I mean, look at kind of what DC's doing with the Joker and Batman. Those are two separate universes, and people know they don't exist. And even if they don't know,
Yeah.
they don't care as long as the stuff is good. It's entertaining. It's kind of what we want to see. I mean, Star Wars. When you say Star Wars, Craig, what do you want to see when you hear the word Star Wars? What do you want to see in a live action film?
I want to see good versus evil. I want to see mythical, fair, kind of fantasy kind of things with interesting creatures and really likable characters. Like
Yeah.
if you think about the original trilogy, the characters were really likable. They were funny, they were real. Like Han would always get frustrated and annoyed and irritated when the Falcon's not working, but it was real. They would get kind of snippy with each other, but you know what I mean? Like there was a realness, and the prequels felt a little bit more one dimensional in the characters.
hmm
You know what I mean? They make, I think, the Jedi feel a little bit too one dimensional because they're supposed to be like this peaceful, perfect, kind of person. So I think that comes across as a little one dimensional. Whereas, like, you have Luke who wasn't trained, so he's whiny and he's, cocky and stuff like that. You know what I mean?
Right,
Not a
right.
traditional Jedi.
Yeah, aggressively relaxed on YouTube says Acolyte was the most Sithiest show to ever Sith. It's just the Bane trilogy reskinned. I think it could have been Sithier. Towards the end of the show, yeah, you got more in depth with Chimere, the Stranger, and what his motivations were,
Mhm.
and all that. But yeah, for the most part, it felt like a High Republic show to me because of those
Yeah,
Jedi. And I liked them. I liked those characters. Um, I thought those actors did great jobs. Lee Jung Jae was fantastic. I thought Amanda Stenberg did a great job playing two different characters, which is a challenge in and of itself. Um, but it was just, I mean, you titled it The Acolyte. You want to see the Acolyte. You want to see the Sith. You want to see it from their point of view. I mean, you want to see a really dark show. But of course, you think about it's owned by Disney. It's on Disney Plus. It's for the kids, in a sense. So I mean, how dark can they really go? That's the thing. And you look across the hallway, Marvel has gone R-rated with their first R-rated movie. So
with Deadpool. Yeah,
yeah, I don't think Star Wars has to go R-rated, but they could go very, very dark. And I mean, I guess they could walk that fine line with calling it the Acolyte and not the Sith, you know. Um, but yeah, I mean, like Craig said, we enjoyed the Acolyte. I think for what it was, and it had some high points, it had some mid points, and had some low points. But overall, we liked the show, and we're wishing for a season 2, which apparently is not going to happen. There's a petition out there with, I don't know, like 80,000 signatures now on it or whatever. But honestly,
yeah,
I don't think petitions ever really work. I mean, that's just kind of like,
no, but people feel like they're doing something,
yeah,
which I don't blame them. I mean, to me, I really want to see a season 2, but I have to say I don't care about May and I don't care about Osha. I I don't. I honestly liked Osha until she killed Saul, and then she killed Saul, and I'm like,
yeah.
ah. And I get
Well,
it,
I
she's
mean,
turning to
it
the dark
made.
side, but I didn't.
I mean, I think I cared about her. I cared about Amanda Stenberg's character even more when that happened because she bled the crystal. She turned the lightsaber red. I mean, all that stuff was cool, but I mean, all of that's overshadowed by the front end of the story. And to me, it feels like if the Acolyte would have done a huge action set piece at the beginning of the show, that would have got everyone hyped up for the future, which is what happened at the end of the show. So I think it was lacking that because it started off so like slow and total opposite of fast and intense, you know. Um,
I don't
I think
know.
that's what drew people away. But afterwards, though, once the show was done, once it was announced that the Acolyte was canceled, the Acolyte became the #1 streaming show on Disney Plus.
Did it?
Yes, and then it became the #2 streaming show on all between all the platforms. I think House of the Dragon was #1. So,
Very interesting.
I mean, that's interesting in and of itself. And then Manny Jacinto is going to be in Japan at Celebration. So, what's he going to talk about? Hopefully, they greenlight something for him,
Man,
and maybe we get
I
a
really
clue
liked
or
him.
something. Yeah,
I really liked his character. And it was interesting because it's like you're wondering, like, is it all an act? Is the way he acts with Osha all an act, or is that really part of who he is? Is he like because it's like with the Sith, is it like Palpatine's so friendly and kind to everybody, and then he's like, I'm gonna kill everybody.
Well, I think his direction is not Sith actually. It's Ren because they played the Kylo Ren music behind him at one point, and he
Well,
has
I
a
mean,
very Ren type helmet on.
yeah, but I guess what I'm saying is I was finding it kind of interesting trying to figure out like if his character was truly evil or he was genuine, like, you know what I mean? Like
Right,
Palpatine.
right. Like a lot of villains don't think they're villains; they think they're the good guys.
Yeah.
That type of situation. He thought he was good. Um, I think in my heart of hearts, I think that Lucasfilm is gonna bring him back for something. Maybe
Well,
his own series.
him and Plagueis would be
They got to do
Awesome.
Plagueis. I mean, that's another no-brain slam dunk idea they need to pursue. Plagueis, young
But they got to do
Palpatine.
him right. Man, they got to do him right.
Yeah,
They
definitely.
cannot mess up Plagueis. I don't know.
Well, they
Honestly,
can, Craig, but
well,
it would
I'm
be
saying
devastating.
they can, but they better not. They should.
Yeah.
You know what they should do? They should bring on George to tackle Plagueis
You know,
and take.
people will say that. People will say that, but I mean, George, he's done with Star Wars. He doesn't want to mess with it. He's
Well, we'll
living out.
we'll sign a petition. I'm gonna start it. Hold on, let me find a piece of paper.
You're gonna go to the Star Wars Stuff Facebook group
I'm gonna
and create a petition.
I'm gonna start a petition on the part of the Boba Fett ship.
Oh man, wow.
Don't
Yeah,
worry,
you
the
just
rest of the ship is here.
everyone like leave your PO boxes and we'll mail it out and sign it. So the next story, the next thing we want to talk about is Ahsoka. Ahsoka has won for outstanding fantasy sci-fi costumes at the Emmys. So what do you think about that, Craig?
Uh, cool. I mean, I liked Ahsoka. I'm glad it's getting some recognition, and maybe it'll turn some people onto the show. It was looking back, Ahsoka was a little slow, but for the most part, I really liked the show.
Much like the Acolyte, it started off kind of slow, then built momentum. We got to go to different galaxy. It felt a lot bigger than the Acolyte did. It felt a lot more proportional to what I think we all expected. And getting live action Thrawn, getting live action Sabine, getting live action Ezra, it won the Emmy for costumes. And they did a fantastic job, I think, with the costumes. Bringing Sabine from animation to real life. Ahsoka's costumes, I mean, people say that they fixed her Leku. I had no issues with it. And
In Mando,
in Mando Book of Boba Fett, it was shorter, but they lengthened it because there was
uh,
apparently there was uproar about it. But
yeah,
um, it works. I mean, one of the greatest fan castings ever, Rosario Dawson as Ahsoka, and of course Iman Esfandi. And all three of these actors are actually going to be at SpaceCon here in October in San Antonio, in my backyard. So
I know I can't make it. I wish I could. The Bob has it on the. I always take my kids to the Fort Wilderness at Disney. It's incredible at Halloween, and there's thousands upon thousands of Halloween decorations. It's probably the coolest place in the world to see Halloween. If you like Halloween, check it out. Look it on YouTube. So I would come if it wasn't for that. And I guess, are we gonna have Bob on next week?
I think we're gonna have Bob on next week. Bob Wills is the owner showrunner of SpaceCon in San Antonio. There's gonna be a total of 13 Star Wars celebrities. Let's see if I can name them all. Hayden Christensen's gonna be there.
Who's
Ewan
that?
McGregor,
Who?
Luke's dad. Hayden Christensen,
Oh.
Ewan McGregor, Rosario Dawson, Katie Sackhoff, Ming-Na Wen, Matthew Wood, Ray Park, Gina Carano, Natasha Lou Bordizzo, Iman Esfandi. I'm forgetting her name off the top of my head. She played Hera, Ewan McGregor's wife. Yeah, Mary Elizabeth Winstead. And I'm forgetting two more people. Ahmed Best. I always forget him for some reason, but because I met him at Rebel Scum Con. And there's someone else. Did I say Matthew Wood?
No.
Okay, Matthew Wood. Okay, that's the 13.
Phenomenal list. Honestly,
Yeah.
that is like an incredible. That's like a Star Wars celebration lineup.
Yeah, it's like the lead up to Celebration. If you can't make it out to Japan, make it out to San Antonio, Texas, and you'll see me, you'll see Colin, you'll see Zach, who has been on the podcast for a while. You'll see everyone from Countdown to the Geekcast. I mean, there's gonna be a.
Hey, you're making me sad.
You won't, however, see Craig 5 because apparently the only guy that would show up to this thing is not going to be there that could get Craig 5 out of Orlando is this guy.
Yeah. I said I would be there for that. I would definitely be there for that.
So Craig would just leave his family for Harrison Ford, apparently.
You're on your own, family.
So, fortunately for me, I went to San Diego Comic Con along with Ted from Countdown City, and I got to see Harrison Ford up close when he walked up on the stage when I was in the press cage. And he looks like a very, very wiry, strong guy from the looks of him in person. Very thin, but he looks very, very like strong. Looks like a strong dude. Stronger than I thought, and he had a lot of
Jealous.
he had a lot of energy. He is up there in age. I believe he's how old is he, Craig?
He's like 80
82?
something like 82 or something like that.
Yeah, if you're in the chat and you can tell us Harrison Ford's age, that'd be great. But yeah, if Harrison Ford ever showed up to a convention, I would be very surprised. But I wouldn't put anything past Bob Wills for SpaceCon, Superhero Comic Con, because he's pulling in people that have never done conventions before. And surprisingly, San Antonio has hosted a lot of people that haven't done conventions before, their very first conventions. I know it's on Star Wars, but Andrew Garfield, his first signing convention was last year. I think I'm still paying on those photo ops. But yeah, it can get very, very pricey.
This is why we need our Patreon supporters.
Yeah, I don't think any of that money went to our personal photo ops, but
David, I do have to go. I'm sorry.
Okay, yeah, no problem, Craig.
We can wrap up unless you want to keep going by yourself.
Yeah, we can wrap up for now. So yeah,
I want to say I just have to do a work call, and so I got to start that at 3:00, which is now.
Yeah, we all have jobs, so we all got to go back to
work.
But
it was good to be here, and boy, we didn't even plan on ranting. But Bob, I know you're listening. Not Iger, not Wills. Wills. Bob Iger's listening. I know. He's got a lot of his cronies checking out our podcast. Listen, the problem
Lucasfilm listens.
Bob, listen to me, Bob. Let me talk to Bob for a minute here, Dave. Don't interrupt. I have been a longtime Star Wars fan, okay? It's not too much Star Wars. You gotta give the people what they want. You see that guy above me right there? That giant head? That's Luke Skywalker. Bring him back, okay? He'll make you a lot of money. The money I give you alone will be worth it. Thank you.
All right, there you have it.
I think he's going to take that to heart. He seems like a very reasonable man.
Very, very smart man. Very shrewd man. Very. Yeah. I think he has that Lucas foresight. It's just he has to. He's got a lot. He's spinning a lot of plates. So.
I will mail you my wallet, Bob. I will just mail you my wallet.
And with that. Thank you, everyone, for watching the Star Wars Stuff podcast. My name is David for Craig 5. May the Force be with you.
Peace out. Oh, wait, the Force. Yeah, the Force. May the Force be with you.